I used to feel that internal tension, wondering if I should be working more hours, opening Instagram, seeing these guys boast locking in 10, 12, 16 hours a day, starting to question my own work and energy patterns, yet feeling that tension of knowing every time I try this, it just ends up in friction and burnout. But all of this changed when I not only realized something so simple, a biological truth, but actually applied it to my own life, that maybe you're just wired differently than them. And so in this video, I want to share with you how I started discovering my own biological energy, wiring, focus, so that I could design my life and work and focus around that wiring and stop comparing myself to these guys online boasting about working 16 hours a day. We all know this feeling. You open up Instagram, there's some guy who watches too much Alex Hormozy and he's boasting about working 18 hours a day. And it's like every time I've tried to actually take tabs on my energy, on my focus, and work until my own red line, and I've tried to sustain that, it always ends up just in friction. I finish the day and my brain is just completely fried. Part of this journey was captured in a video I posted way back talking about not feeling fulfilled at my work. And it was the same story, trying to figure out deeply what business I could start, how I could make money, impact independently of an employer. And I was finally going on this walk, just like overcome with all of this stress and overwhelm about all of the different business ideas. And bro, you just need to grind this out. And I realized that I had been comparing myself to all of these guys online who had a different version of success than I was going after. And it was as if I was playing a completely different game than what I was seeing online. And finally, I realized that I need to start thinking for myself and understand I'm playing a different game. I have a different version of success. I work differently. And so I need to make my own rules. It's really fascinating to look back at my life and think of all of the times where I felt this internal tension, this friction, this questioning my own work patterns. And most of them came from when I was comparing myself to someone else who I think is on the same path, who's doing more than me, versus the times where I felt like I was the most confident, made the most progress, were the times where I was comparing myself to my own past version of myself, leaning into my own energy, routine, focus, and seeing the progression over time of that in my own journey. And so there was a moment recently where I was with some guys, online community, talking about business, dating, life, and maybe you've experienced this as well. You know those like statements or beliefs that someone says that are just like different based on your own lived experience? Like they have just a different lived experience, and so they say something, a different belief than you. And it was one of those moments talking about grinding out work that I was like, oh, see, I haven't found that. Like my own lived experience is just fundamentally different. And it was in that moment, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm just biologically wired differently. And I'll be honest, it's taken me years to get to this point of the level of self-awareness, the introspection, understanding my unique advantages, how I'm different than other guys. And so that takes a while, but I've started to realize that there are unique skill sets and personality traits and things that I have that these other like grind set, hustle bros, whatever, who can work 16 hours a day don't have. And one of those things, and this gets into the reason why I started coaching, is all of this feedback that I started to accumulate from these really deep conversations that I got into with other people, very natural conversations. I was getting feedback like, I've only told this to my therapist. It's very easy. Literally a couple days ago, I was working with a guy, and at the end, he was like, you make it very easy for me to let my shield down, like to be open, to be vulnerable. And that's something that I've noticed these other guys don't have. And so I've started to fork and find my own path of like, what's unique to me? What's unique about my biology? How do I work? How am I unique? And part of that, I've realized for me, is going deep, strategy, holding space, like allowing people to be vulnerable and open and get to the root cause of issues that people have in their life. I will make a broad we're part of the way into this video, so some people have, scrolled past, but, I'll make a broad claim generalization that from my experience, guys are very bad at holding space for other people because we are like problem solving creatures. And so if someone's, comes and they start to describe a problem, our brains switch on of like, oh, have you tried this solution? And like, let me jump in. Oh, has this worked? And it's like, that doesn't work. And it only works for a certain select group of people. Usually those other like, I'm open to feedback and I'm looking for a solution type of people. But there are a lot of people that need space, vulnerability, like that need more time to get to a more tender root cause, root issue, like a problem of struggling with self-acceptance, self-trust is not something you take lightly. And this is what I've realized that I do better than just I've experienced other people do. And so I'll jump in here with some actions that you can take away already, which is like when you're in these communities, when you're talking to other people and you hear these statements that are different from your lived experience, when you're getting feedback from other people about what you're doing differently, those are data points to pick up to start to accumulate how you are wired differently. Like for some people, the same input results in vastly different levels of interest. Like you might put two people in a cooking class and one is like electric, like this is my space, this is my where I feel the most alive, and the other one is like can't wait to be out of there, and so that is like a biological wiring. Looking at these activities that you take part in that feels like play, that feels natural, where time just flies by, like those are data points. Don't expect that everyone else on the planet is just like you. I feel like we have this expectation that like, oh, if this is my lived experience, if I'm just like this, like everyone else is like this. No. We all know there are introverts and there are extroverts. Generally, there's a spectrum. You will agree with me that some people are just, you put them in a party and they're the life of the party. They get energy. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then there are the people that are in the corner who are like, I can't wait to be out of here. Or they're like just talking to one person in the corner. It's like we all accept that. But then we get onto business and working, focus, social media, and then we see these other people who are like, bro, I locked in for 16 hours a day for 3 months. And it's like, oh, well, I should be able to do that too. Well, maybe, but maybe not. And so maybe you are wired in a different way. Your energy is wired for a different style of focus. And so if all you're feeling is friction when you're trying to work this same pattern that this course that you're following or this guru or this creator online, if all you're feeling is friction, try something else. Experiment with your energy. Put your workout in the morning instead of the evening. Put it in the evening instead of the morning. Try working in the morning. Try getting up earlier. Try getting up later, staying up later. Like maybe you're a night owl and you're like, bro, between 8 p.m. and like 1 a.m. is when I do best. Like amazing. If I tried to do that, it would never work. But for some other people, it's like maybe you need to be moving your alarm up and giving yourself more hours before work or before your typical work time, because that's actually when you're most productive. And so my point here is play to your strengths, your own unique wiring, your patterns. Figure these things out, experiment, try, play with your energy, play with your focus. Try working 16 hours, try working 8 hours, try working 2 hours, and start to accumulate like a scientist, like a researcher of your own patterns so that you can decide, not by comparing yourself to some guru who's got a Lamborghini who's locked in for 16 hours a day, but you can decide for yourself, 16 hours doesn't work for me. What I find best is like max 6 or whatever, or max 4, and I do this other thing, and this takes just experimentation and enough self-awareness to detach yourself from people online. We're not all the same. Our energy is not all the same. We don't all focus and work the same. I've been asked like, how do I work more? Part of my answer was, well, change what you're working on. What is work? What is productive time? Because for me recently, productive time is not just time behind laptop. And so I feel like on social media, we're optimizing for this metric. Time behind laptop is the thing that we're optimizing for. But for me, who's wired differently, who goes more deep with people, part of what I'm now optimizing for is not only time behind laptop, but also silence in my day, downtime, down regulation, meditations, walks, just space to regulate myself, because I've taken on a responsibility of this business of holding space and a container for other people. And so for someone, maybe it's, I'm tweaking things and I got to change things in Facebook ads and whatever. That's just different. I'm not saying one is better than the other. How we work and what our productive time counts as is different. And so you need to decide for yourself, for your goal, for your vision, for your life, decide what is productive. And maybe if you're this far into this video, listening to me, maybe you should be adding more silence to your day as down regulation, as time that counterbalances from this focus time. And maybe you'll find that if you take a lunch without scrolling on your phone, or you take a long walk, you feel more productive. And so rather than trying to optimize for this metric of time behind laptop, why don't you think for yourself and think, okay, what's optimal for me? And so I want to make sure I make this point that the takeaway here is not to, when you don't feel like working, don't work. It's to think like, I want you to build a massively successful business, brand, to live in your purpose, to serve and impact thousands of lives of other people. The question is, how do you get there sustainably? How can you do that for the next 5, 10, 20 years of your life? And is it by working 16 hours a day, revving at 9,000 RPMs? Or is it a more sustainable approach? Because when we start to define this for ourselves, we become more resilient and understand when we're scrolling through social media and some guy's flexing his Lambo or his bro locked in for 16 hours a day. We understand that this guy's on a different path than we are. I'm serving a different purpose. I'm biologically wired in a different way, and I'm going to leverage that. I'm going to leverage my depth. I'm going to leverage my brain, my patterns, my nature, how I've been nurtured. For all we know, he's just doing the best that he can. The other point I want to make here is we don't know what baggage people have on social media. And so the guy that's, working 10, 12 hours a day, like maybe he has ADHD. Maybe he's got issues with his past traumas, maybe his parents. We just don't know. It's like you buy a loaf of bread, but there's no ingredients on there. It's like, do you actually know what's in this? Like, do you know the full picture, the full package of where this advice is coming from, or are you just blindly taking it? So I hope in this video I've given you enough like scattered options for you to pick at something to try. But what I really want to get across to you is to think for yourself. Think as a scientist, experimenter. Play with your work blocks. Play with your energy, your sleep, when you wake up, when you go to bed. Think about the conversations that you have with other people. Think about the people that you watch online and how you think differently from them, how you operate differently, and start to accumulate this foundation for you that you can stand on, that you know from your own lived experience works for you. And as always, if you want to go deeper with me, send me a DM on Instagram and let's chat. And just to summarize, if all you're feeling is friction right now in your day, in your work, maybe you are wired differently than the course that you're following, than the creators that you're following, and maybe you need to start experimenting and thinking for yourself. Figure out your own biological wiring. What's unique to you? What strengths do you have? When do you focus best? When is your energy best? And when you think about your path, your business, what is required to get there? What inputs are required to get there? And so the next time you see these guys online walking in 10, 16 hours a day, bro, maybe you are wired differently than them. Play to your strengths. Play to your energy. And stop comparing yourself to them and compare yourself to the progress that you've made on your own journey. That's all I got for this video. Catch you in the next one. I used to feel that Bleh. I used to envision yourself as the YouTube video. I'm losing it. We're trying to over-optimize here. Over-optimize. Just go. Just lock in, bro. Just lock in. And so in this video, I want to share with you what.